Excited to be on the stage with you. Christoffer, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
This is a little bit off topic compared to our last sessions. We're going to talk NFTs. Christoffer, you're with Bang Olufsen, which anybody in the room owns some Bang Olufsen equipment? Yeah, got some speakers maybe, some, you were telling me a story actually last time we talked about the original B&O record player.
Yeah.
They're still out there. You can buy them on eBay.
They are still out there, and there's a very sought item actually, the Beogram we did with Jakob Jensen back in the 70s, which is, you can find it at the MoMA in New York. We can basically not source enough. What we do is that we source them and then we refurbish them, bring them up to modern standards. There's a collectible to that item today, and it's very sought after. That's one example of how we as a brand over time has created icons in the physical world, now we're also looking at the digital world.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is amazing. A lot of people probably know Bang & Olufsen is a producer of audio and visual equipment, amazing speakers, many of which look like art to me, and the record player being in the Museum of Modern Art. But this conference is about crypto, so I imagine a lot of people in the room are sort of like, well, what are you guys talking about up there? What's going on here? But you're now in the world of NFTs. Talk to us a little bit about how we arrived there.
Yeah, so basically we looked 5-7 years ahead and identified a number of megatrends. Bang & Olufsen is basically targeting design and music lovers. And we saw Web3, the NFT space, as a place where a lot of vibrant activities within music and art took place. We decided to study that further, and we spent some time landscaping the opportunities for us as a brand, and identified a long list which basically entails everything from in the entire value chain. So looking at from an ESG point of view, provenance, being able to document the components, the origins of our products, all the way to the more downstream, how you can create experiences for our customers where we combine digital and physical. We decided to start out with an NFT collection. And we did that for a couple of reasons. One, because we see design and music lovers being in that space, and we want to be where our customers are. Two, because we wanted to embrace the creator economy. So Bang & Olufsen, you might not know this, but we've always collaborated. Our products, most of our products, the vast majority, have been done by external designers who have met our engineers, and then sort of tension and magic arises between the two. And we really wanted to extend that collaborative effort, like we've been working with musicians in the past into Web3. So we engaged with a number of native Web3 artists, both visual artists and musicians. And it just felt very natural to us, actually, even though a completely new space and how to go about this, because the sort of logic of collaborating is something that's very close to us. And then I think thirdly, I want to mention that as a luxury brand, being a very expressive brand, we are not trying to hide our products. On the opposite, we like them to stand out. We see some opportunities in the digital world that we are not yet able to do in the physical. So we wanted to explore this, and also basically looking at the entire metaverse and years ahead, how we can be a brand in that space. Given our expressive nature, we find this quite interesting.
Now I have actually minted my Bang Olufsen NFT. So if people can see that, I know it's probably a little small on my phone, but if you go to if you just search for the DNA collection Bang Olufsen, you'll end up on the Mint site. So anybody that's an NFT collector in the audience, you can go and experience this. I think you're doing some really interesting collaborations, and it goes well beyond the artists that help create the NFTs. You were just in New York recently, I think, for NYC NFT, and there was a launch event where you collaborated with Super Rare. Talk to us a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, so one of the really interesting things for us also is that we do audio-video equipment, and we have approximately 430 stores in high street locations where we have the latest in technology when it comes to screens and speakers. So we figured out that we could turn this into galleries, basically with the digital art and the artists we're working with. We could find a way to obviously also create traffic to our stores, but also to basically celebrate digital art. So we hosted one of our musicians who's part of the collection, who created unique tracks. Actually, the first, I think, music we have sold as a company, together with Grammatik and RSC, the musicians we work with. They were doing a live event, and we had an open invitation for basically any digital artist to be part of the exhibition, which created more than 500 entries. And then you were on display during NFT New York, which is the, I believe, one of the biggest sort of events on a global scale when it comes to NFTs. And I think we created used basically our facilities to create an immersive visual and music experience in New York. And Super Rare, we work with because there's common denominators in target audience, and basically it's a model that we will continue to look at as there's events across the world. We have the facilities to help bring art and music to the world via our stores.
And I think one of the interesting things is, it's not just a single NFT that you mint. Once you get the first NFT, you can combine it with an art or a music vial, which then morphs the original piece into something entirely new. But ultimately, I think on the roadmap, you've got a physical product that you actually have to own the NFT in order to purchase. Talk a little bit about the strategy there and what you're hoping to do, connecting the digital to the real world product offering.
So you mentioned the roadmap, and I think we in everything we do, we have high ambitions, and we try to set the bar as high as we can. I think in this case we developed a roadmap that comprises our own design work. So our design team was given the freedom to design, use materials that they could invent. So basically using travertine, slate, snow, water, all materials that you are not really able to use in the physical world when creating products. Taking the best.
Hard to ship snow.
Hard to ship snow, and sort of trying to combine the best from what's known as the PFP world in NFTs, where you have different traits that are combined in a random way. Quite a bigger challenge for our design team, actually, because they are sort of used to curate down to the smallest detail, and being in full control of the curation. And here the random element was quite a challenge, but it turned out being something that actually everyone found quite exciting. That was the one element, and then we had the artists joining in as well. So all these roadmap elements, each of those contain a smart contract. There are 6 in total, and I think that's where the complexity arises. and also where we realized that we needed help from Chainalysis. We'll get back to that, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But actually, funny enough, we started out with the vision of making this digital only, paying homage to the Web3 community, and we didn't want this to be about selling physical products, but the artists we had the dialogue with were all very keen on adding the physical element. So we decided to do this token-gated physical product, which is where you can only buy this edition of product we have called Beosound A9, which is our best-selling speaker, a speaker that was invented 12 years ago and is now on its 5th generation of technology. And this will come with the artwork from one of the artists we're working with, and have your wallet address engraved, optional.
Wow.
And feature some details that basically is only available for the community who has the NFT.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things we wanted to explore is, again, how we can combine the physical and digital, not only looking at our retail footprint, but also our physical products, and add experiences to the physical products.
Yeah. Well, one of the first questions I asked when we met was, why are you working with Chainalysis? Because I think there's probably easier ways to have gone about this. There's some very good Web3 marketing agencies that probably would have done all the heavy lifting for you. But you chose, I think, the maybe a harder path initially. Talk about how you arrived at that decision and what that's meant in terms of the learnings that you've been able to gather.
So, first of all, I want to say that as an organization, we had very few individuals with knowledge, experience in Web3. We deliberately decided to build this with existing line functions, meaning we did not create a side unit to drive this in isolation from the main business, meaning that treasury was part of this, legal team, heavily engaged, marketing, our SoMe team, what I experienced was a sort of a fantastic desire to learn, basically, and explore this. We then also had a couple of external advisors, and we had conversations regarding how to structure this, and also whether to use a custodian versus non-custodian setup. We managed to construct the collection with the 6 smart contracts in a way where there was no off-the-shelf solutions from the non-custodian players in the market, and had a lot of iterations on this, and ended up with a setup where we have a so-called Gnosis safe, have a setup where we have 3 physical safes with ledgers in our headquarters, where our head of treasury and a couple of other people have access to. We did this really to get the speed we needed for the project, and I think, to be honest, also because this was a new space for us, so we had learnings as we went along. But we wanted the concept to really drive the decision making around the infrastructure and solutions. And here, Chainalysis then became our solutions when it came to the fact that we would have wallets accessing our minting side, and that we wanted to secure the highest level of compliance possible in this setup, and that worked out really well. So actually,
I'm curious. Your treasury team, they've now got a physical safe with ledger devices sitting inside of it, protecting the private keys, I imagine, that publish the smart contract. Did anyone in that team know anything about crypto or NFTs before this project started?
Close to zero.
Yeah.
Close to zero. So quite a journey, and I think also for us and for myself, I've been doing brand collaborations with a number of companies, and all those have been on Web 2 terms.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're talking to artists who, even though you have had legal advisory from some of the experts in the field, who would basically, question whether you need a contract, whether the smart contract is not enough. And of course, that's where we as a brand, we have a trademark, and there's consideration to be made. But sort of the conversation and the balance was interesting, and I think it's just an enormous learning journey for everyone in the organization, right?
So I imagine the legal team probably had some fits trying to think about the implications of putting your brand on an NFT and that being sold, right? I mean, that seems like an incredibly complex thing for somebody not in the Web3 space.
Definitely, but also luckily we have a very ambitious legal team, and they saw an opportunity to be part of be among the first.
Yeah.
And they're actually traveling around advising other companies, sharing learnings as well on this topic. So it's been a journey, and for us it's less about the NFT collection being a new business model. Is really about understanding what blockchain can do for us and what kind of experiences we can create. And I think one of the learnings we've had is that there are opportunities for creating completely new different experiences.
Yeah.
And there were some examples before mentioned. I mean, imagine that you were able to curate unique content, being music or being art for that matter, and being able to airdrop that to specific owners of specific speakers. That's just one example of where the future could head, and what we would be able to do going forward.
I think the opportunities around customer engagement are really exciting, right? Another mode of communication or engagement. I'm curious, as you look back, what would you change if you had the opportunity to do it over again?
I think not much, really, because I've been challenged a few times on sort of, what's the end state of this and what's the 5-year roadmap. And I think, doing a 3 or 5 year roadmap, I wouldn't have felt comfortable presenting that to our board, because this is moving so fast.
Yeah.
That for us it was really about getting into this, get the learnings, build a community, and we still have a lot of things we can do better, and we are focused on that. One of the things we've taken as feedback is that we should take advisory from our community to a high extent that we have done. So that's one of the things we will do going forward. And I think all these are new things for us as a brand.
Yeah.
Not new to Web3, but we need to find our path. We need to find the Bang Olufsen path forward in this space. And that is what we are defining, basically, as we learn.
Have you launched... what's the model of engagement for the community of NFT owners? I just minted my own NFT, so I haven't jumped into the community yet. But
yeah,
is this a totally different way of communicating with customers than you've had previously?
It is. It's definitely been a challenge for us, as there's choices to be made here. Twitter is one of the medias that's used for Web3 communication, and we've created a community on Discord, but not all of our owners are using Discord.
Yeah.
And I think, back to learnings and what we could have done differently, it's proven harder to onboard non-Web3 customers to this platform than we thought.
Yeah.
And personal learnings, just explaining this at family dinners and so forth, right? It takes a bit of time, and I think that's back to the user experience.
Yeah.
And this being at the stage it is at. So the more the user experience can be improved and maybe also
for any entrepreneurs in the audience, fixing the wallet user experience is probably a market opportunity. If you haven't picked up on that yet at crypto, it's hard, right?
Exactly. So that's where we are, and that's part of being early on the S curve. So, but that's definitely one thing that we've learned. So, finding a way to communicate, because there's social media channels where you if you talk Web3, the feedback might not be that nuanced. So it's really about making. Working with what you have, but also again defining our way forward as a brand. We have some different initiatives, and we continue exploring. We've done our landscaping and sort of believe fundamentally in blockchain as a tool that can be used in many ways to create value for our customers, both in terms of new digital experiences, but also the fact that we have products that are basically in the market for decades, and they are often being traded in secondary market. You've seen other luxury brands who've sort of started to engage and take more, take more control of the secondary market. And here actually, I think, data and proof, authenticity proof, also service records and so forth, is an area where blockchain would be really suitable, and could be part of a future solution for us.
Yeah. Amazing. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I hope everybody's now going to go out at the break and mint your DNA collection NFT if you haven't gotten one already. Christoffer, appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Thank you.